All right, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Welcome, 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 everyone. We are back and we are live. Our topic that we're dealing with today, the sweet science of sovereignty, boxing as a blueprint to Black liberation. And this is going to be a really good program like normal. But we're going to take it a different route today. And so we're going to be looking through the lens of boxing and tap in, because I think those prize fighters, as they're called, I don't know exactly why they're called prize fighters, but prize fighters are a special type of people. I don't think that everybody can be a prize fighter. But to look at their determination, their will to win, they're giving it everything they got. And I mean, hell, now they got the women boxers and the women in the cage fighting. They even got the women, Doc, out there in lingerie playing football.
Yeah.
I mean, good Lord, where in the world? But, so when you think of these pioneers that we're going to deal with, and their fight, their will, especially dealing with our first fighter, or before we get into our first fighter, Doc, those boxers who, go out there and they want to be the king of the ring, they want to be the man of the man. What's your thoughts about them? Are they like a special group of people?
Oh, most certainly. Most certainly. You're dealing with a very, 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 very select few individuals who are willing to really lay it all on the line. The courage that it takes, number one, to appear in front of in front of people for a kind of a one-on-one mano, however you say it, battle. Takes a level of courage that most people can't even begin to fathom. And you have to, I think that you also have to factor in that the best fighters have historically been from lower socioeconomic classes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think about guys like Ray Boom Boom Mancini,
Mm-hmm.
Alexis Arguello, and of course, Sugar Ray, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Iron Mike. These are all guys who, by and large, came from impoverished backgrounds. And that's something, that will there is something that can't be taught or manifested.
Mm-hmm.
You see very few, like I was talking about this week in one of my classes about the dawning of age and
Mm-hmm.
how time go along. And I told them there's going to come a moment where there's going to be a little light-skinned boy that can shoot the lights out. And he's going to be the son of Steph Curry. And you're going to say, man, I remember when his dad played. Yeah, you're getting older. But if you look at the sweet science, how many juniors have we seen fight? How
I
many?
haven't seen none.
I've seen,
Maybe Floyd Mayweather probably
yeah,
won his daddy.
yeah. Marvis Frazier. And
Mm.
of course, we saw how that turned out when he fought Iron Mike. I missed that entire fight. I went to make a sandwich, and when I came back, people were standing in the ring. And so it's they don't have it. The children don't have it because they've in many ways lived lives of luxury, to
Mm.
be absolutely honest with you. So the courage, the will, the determination to get in there is one thing. And then the mastering of the sweet science is a whole nother thing. The hours of boxing and things like that. And I'm thinking about a former student that I had in my class who was a boxer. And I asked him, I said, what's it like being in the ring there and being in the ring? He said, just imagine somebody chasing you around for 3 minutes with a ball peen hammer, swinging it as hard as they can, trying to hit you. That's what it's like. So I grew up in the age, probably one of the last ages of boxers before we had this UFC stuff.
Mm.
And so I have fond memories of boxers. I got fond memories of Sugar Ray, my personal favorite fighter, who's came to an untimely end. Actually, both of them did. Gerald McClellan and Terrible Terry Norris. They both wound up getting hurt in the ring. So that's what I think about. I think about the glory days of boxing. I think about the characters of boxing, the selling of a fight, really making it entertainment, such as Bernard Hopkins going down. He's the executioner, and he goes down. He's fighting Felix Trinidad, I believe. He goes to Puerto Rico with a bag of rice and beans and slams it on the table in front of Trinidad, steps on the Puerto Rican flag, and says, "This is your last meal." And of course, the Puerto Rican people didn't take kindly to that. It is one of the top 5 hilarious moments of boxing promotion is when the Puerto Rican people jumped up and chased B Hop up out the arena. He's literally running for his life. And it's not a sport of gentlemen. It's a sport where some of the quote unquote least appropriate individuals are able to stand in the limelight. And as I was talking about Bernard Hopkins, quite possibly the most embarrassing moment for Black America was when Larry Holmes ran across that limousine and jumped off it to drop kick Trevor Burbick. Okay. Yeah, if you've never seen that, wait till you're having a bad day and type that in and see the world heavyweight champion literally run across from the back to the front of a limousine and drop kick Trevor Burbick with 2 good feet. Okay. So that's what I remember. That's what I think when I think about boxing.
Wow. What about this cat Larry Merchant?
Larry Merchant, a man who truly has God on his side. There have been so many moments where I just knew this is the one. Somebody is going to hit Larry Merchant in the mouth today. So, yeah, Merchant has always been a piece of work. He's always been extremely inappropriate with boxers. And you can almost count on that occurring. That was almost a part of the spectacle to see what Larry Merchant was going to say. He's not Howard Cosell, but he puts you in the mind of Howard Cosell and how Cosell had a way of, especially when he was dealing with Ali. And of course, those two were great friends. But Larry Merchant is liable to ask you anything. And more times than not, it's going to make you pause, and not for a positive reason at all. Kind of that moment of the Chappelle show where they asked him, he was acting like he was the president. And he says, so you just going to ask me that right here, right out in public. That's Larry Merchant, a kind of a shock jock of the boxing ring, but a man who, like I said, definitely has God on his side, because he should have, if he had been hit in the mouth after a couple of his questions, I don't think that America would have been up in arms. I think everyone would have sort of tipped their hat to whoever hit him in the mouth and said, okay, enough respect.
So when it gets down to your top 10 boxers,
oh wow,
who are your top 10?
Of all time?
Yes.
Ooh, I don't know if I have a top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I have cats that, because the ones that really resonate with me, number one, are coming from a specific era. And
Mm-hmm.
it reminds me of when I ask people about, give me your top 10 MCs.
Mm-hmm.
And they name all these MCs from the same era. And I always argue, how can you list people from the same era?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously they weren't the best even in their era. You can only have one that was the best in their era. But if
Right.
you're asking me of my favorites, I'm definitely going to start with, and this is once again from my era, Sugar Ray.
Mm-hmm.
I got Sugar Ray there. I have Marvelous Marvin Hagler there. I have Tommy Hearns there, and of course, all of these guys are welterweights. I have Mike Tyson in the mix there, and of course, you got to have Ali in the mix. My one of my personal favorites, I mentioned him already, Gerald McClellan and Terrible Terry Norris. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker. I gotta have Pernell Whitaker in there just for his ability to be elusive.
Mm-hmm.
Bernard Hopkins, okay, the executioner, and the story behind B Hop not having B Hop didn't start boxing until he was almost 30 or in his 30s, and was
Mm-hmm.
able to rise. Felix Trinidad was another one of my absolute favorite fighters, and this is a guy that I met under some of the worst, and I have no idea how many I've named. So if I need to keep going, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my roommates at Ohio State, Ed Williams, I went home with him. Went to Cincinnati. He was from Cincinnati, and we go to this supermarket type thing, and Ed doesn't get out the car. He tells me, he says, "Yo, go up there and see if you recognize anybody,"
Mm-hmm.
which is, in many ways a very strange question. You know, I'm not from Cincinnati. How would I recognize anyone? And I go up there and there's a guy who's basically asking for change. And I looked and I was like, Hawk? And he said, "Yeah, it's me, baby. It's me." It was Aaron Pryor.
Mm.
So I put Aaron Pryor on that list. I put Alexis Arguello on that list. Mickey Ward. I'm not going to be, lead the white boys out of there. I put Mickey Ward up there as well. Mickey Ward was a warrior, a soldier. Um, the list goes on and on for me, but they're all
Mm-hmm.
pretty much from that same era of when welterweights in many ways ruled. Welterweights and middleweights, they ruled boxing during that time. And probably the greatest character that one could ever hope to meet
Mm-hmm.
is a gentleman by the name of Hector Macho Camacho, whose
Mm.
son actually became quite a great fighter as well. So
Mm-hmm.
Hector Macho Camacho, and although he wasn't necessarily a tip top boxer, he was damn show entertaining as hell. And you can notice that I like showmen.
Mm-hmm.
It is a gentleman by the name of Antonio Vargas
Okay.
who knew how to sell a fight. Antonio Vargas, he was Mexican. He is Mexican, and most authentic Mexicans have a problem with Oscar De La Hoya. And Vargas was trying to get Oscar to fight him. And you had this very real suspicion that what Vargas actually wanted was a payday.
Mm.
And because Oscar's at the top of the game, people love Oscar.
Mm.
And he couldn't get Oscar to agree to fighting. Oscar just kept, he called Oscar the white man's Mexican. Okay. Even that didn't get him to agree to fighting until Vargas said the what I would consider the unthinkable and the inexcusable. He told Oscar that he hated him so much that he was getting ready to go to the graveyard and piss on his mama's grave.
What?
That's what got Oscar to get in the ring and to beat up Vargas.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of showmanship and story behind, the great boxing rivalries and the legends and things like that. But it's a going back to the original question. It's a dangerous game,
Wow.
and one needs to look no further than two of my favorite, Terrible Terry Norris, who definitely has some brain damage going on, and the Lion of Judah, Gerald McClellan. Gerald McClellan is blind, has lost probably 98% of his hearing, and is in many ways incapacitated from his battle with Nigel Benn, where he was actually headbutted and ends up going down.
Wow. Well, I asked Gemini that question. I actually asked Gemini who is the greatest top 20 boxers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to run down the list of what Gemini said the top 20 are. Number 1, Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
Number 2,
outside of my era. So that's my thing. Everybody talks about Sugar Ray Robinson. I never saw Sugar Ray Robinson fight. That's outside of my purview. That would be the equivalent of me talking about Oscar Robertson and not Jordan.
Yep. So Muhammad Ali is 2. Henry Armstrong is 3. Joe Louis is 4. Roberto Duran is 5. Willie Pep is 6. 7 is Harry Greb. 8 is Benny Leonard. 9 is Sugar Ray Leonard. 10 is Floyd Mayweather Jr. 11 is Manny Pacquiao. 12, Archie Moore. 13, Ezra Charles. 14,
Charles, yeah.
14, Sam Langford. 15, Jack Johnson. 16, Marvin Hagler. 17, Pernell Whitaker. 18, Rocky Marciano. 19, Roy Jones Jr. and 20, Mike Tyson.
And I just laughed because I could hear. I didn't hear the name Larry Holmes, and Larry Holmes was trying to break Rocky Marciano's record for most undefeated fights as a heavyweight champion. And he said to a reporter, and this is a direct quote, "If you want to get techno, not technical," he said, "if you want to get techno, Rocky Marciano couldn't carry my jockstrap." But I have a problem with that list. One is to have and Roberto Duran is one of my favorite fighters of all time, but to have Duran ranked higher than the man that made him quit, Sugar Ray Leonard. That was the no mas fight when Sugar clowned him, and Duran just said, "You know what? No mas, no mas." So and then they have God has not made 15 people, bar none, who could beat Jack Johnson. No way. There's that was pure black Texas strength that you're looking at when you look at Jack Johnson. There's no way 15 men have ever walked the face of this planet Earth that could beat that Negro. No possible way. And the thing is that's what they got, the crime that they got Jack Johnson and incarcerated him for, the Mann Act, that's what they got Puffy on.
Exactly. Interesting. So our first video that we're going to look at and come back and talk to, you actually introduced both people, Bernard Hopkins and Larry Merchant. You
do know what Bernard Hopkins went to prison for, right?
No.
Strong arm robbery.
Really?
They give you more time. I didn't notice till I looked up B-Hop and did some research on him. They give you more time for strong arm robbery than armed robbery, because a strong arm robbery is making somebody run their stuff with an empty hand. You know how frightening you have to be to walk up on somebody and just slap them into submission. I'm pretty sure B-Hop is from Philadelphia. Yeah. That's a bad Negro right there. That's Stagger Lee right there. He can make you run your stuff with an empty hand. That's a dangerous Negro. White folk even want him off the streets.
Definitely. This first video we're going to watch is a post-fight interview with Bernard Hopkins and Larry Merchant. And when I watched, because I had to watch it a couple of times, because I'm like, I'm sure
you did.
I can't believe he talked to this man like this. Like, whoa, bro. But I looked at it and I said, this is the essence of what white people are in America. And it's very interesting. So we're going to go and check out this first clip and come back and talk about it really quick.
Bernard, aren't you embarrassed by this? A great fighter having to fight?
A mandatory that's by the rules. I have to fight because they would do like Roy Jones didn't want him to do before he fought John Ruiz.
Don't tell me about anybody else.
If I didn't fight, Larry, stop being ignorant. If I didn't fight and defend my mandatory with the WBC, they would have stripped me. And I don't care what you say or anybody else say. This is my life. It's my prerogative. You do your job, I do mine.
You think anybody wants to see this kind of fight again?
Well, it don't matter if they want to see it again.
Well, how do you get paid if nobody wants to see it?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not leaving out here without a check tonight. So let me tell you something. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of degree you got, but I got paid tonight.
But I can assure you it won't happen again.
Well, I'll tell you what, Larry. Unless you got powers other than being a commentator, then that's a part of the business and part of the problem. So since you exposed that to the world, let's move on to other issues. I want to fight the junior middleweight champions, the so-called the best. Hold up.
Isn't it embarrassing for the middleweight champion of the world to be calling out junior middleweight champions?
Well, junior middleweights is only 5 to 6 pounds away from middleweights. I mean, junior middleweights always been middleweights. Come on now, Larry. 15 years ago, they didn't have junior weight classes in boxing. It was welterweight, middleweight. Come on now. Right. Isn't it embarrassing when other fighters call each other out in different weight classes? So why is this so different? Because it's Bernard Hopkins?
Yeah.
Are you part of the system or are you with the system?
Winky Wright has stated he wants to call you. Do you want to fight Winky Wright?
Well, is Winky Wright paying me or who's buying the fight? It depends on what the licensing fee is. It depends on what my share is. I don't fight just to be fighting. I did enough of that on Philadelphia streets in Philadelphia for free. So yes, I will fight anybody. But the fight is no problem. You got to make the fight. The dollars got to make sense. And we can move on and you can see better fights, Larry. I don't have an attitude. I just want to get paid for my labor like any other working class citizen in America.
Well, it looks like tonight you got paid for doing not much.
Well, let me tell you something, Larry. You get paid every day on the TV for not doing much. Wow.
That damn Larry Merchant, boy. I'm surprised he didn't get busted in his mouth.
I'm telling you, if there was a man, there's a great saying. Chris Rock said this in one of his stand-ups. He said, there's a reason to kick an old man down some stairs. You just don't do it. There's every reason to punch Larry Merchant in the mouth right there.
Exactly.
You just don't do it. But yeah, I mean, that's who he is. But Bernard Hopkins is, undoubtedly one of my favorites of all time. And you look at his story, he was never over 5 pounds above his fighting weight. Never. He ate the same thing every single day at the same little diner in Philly, and actually was so serious about his health that he would have the chef, the cook, come out, and so he could explain to him what he would not put inside of his body, what he would not put inside of his body. So that's one of the greats of all times, and probably one of the greatest examples of what happens when a person gets a chance at redemption?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a Philadelphia street brawler right here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and to be able to rise to the level that he rose to is absolutely incredible. If Bernard Hopkins was one of the great white hopes, he would be as legendary as Rocky Marciano.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Um, when you're thinking about the boxing world, he made a good point when he was talking about his payday, that he wants to get paid like anybody else that's working in America.
Yeah.
Normally, when you're dealing with sports figures, they're not normally seen as the normal everyday person that goes to work, clock in for a paycheck, and come home. They're like on a different tier that's not like everybody else. But explain that process of how they try to arrange their work and their pay for it to make sense.
Well, the thing is that the work that they do is done in private. These guys are in boxing gyms every single day. They are fighters. They actually love this, what they're doing, and the fact that they can get paid doing it is a bonus that is just in many ways out of this world. You'll find them if you ever watch any of those pre-fight buildups. You'll find these cats up in the mountains running. You'll find them, constantly battling and what have you. And the other thing that they have to, I mean, let's call them what they are. They're entertainers.
Mm-hmm.
We tune in to professional sports. I don't care what sport you want to talk about, to be entertained. And for them to go out there and to be able to entertain at the level that they entertain is in many ways stupefying. I'm thinking about what happens when they're not in shape. If you're a boxer and you get in there and you're not in shape, you may get killed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reminded, I spent so much time in Columbus, Ohio when I was at Ohio State. I went to a barbershop, Pep's Barbershop, over on Mount Vernon Avenue. And one of the clients in Pep's Barbershop was Mr. Bill. Now, Mr. Bill is the father of Buster Douglas that defeated Mike Tyson. That was his father. And actually, Mr. Bill gave me an offer that was just really let me know that Mr. Bill does not know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Young man, you're pretty good size. I could find 10 people that you could beat." He said, "We can fight for the heavyweight championship, and then you're gonna get killed when we get up there." He said, "But we can make you look good until you, Mr. Bill. Nah, we're not gonna do that." But the reason that I bring Mr. Bill up is that he was suffering from, I believe it was cancer, and his final wish. Because if you go back and you remember the build up for the Buster Douglas Mike Tyson fight,
Mm-hmm.
Buster's mother had just died.
Mm.
And many people talked about how motivating that was for him. Well, Mr. Bill was you could tell that it probably wouldn't be very long before he went ahead and succumbed to his illness. And his last dream, hope, was for Buster to get back in the ring. He wanted to see Buster fight one more time. And Buster shows up for the fight. Oh my God. 150 pounds overweight.
Oh, wow.
To the point where they canceled the fight. They wouldn't let him get in there for in the ring for safety purposes. So all of that work that you're seeing them put in, that you don't see them put in, you see that when they get in that ring.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find many, there was another older guy. They called him Tough Tony. Tough Tony looked like he could have been Mike Tyson's daddy.
Mm.
He looked exactly like a miniature Mike Tyson. And you can tell that he was a fighter. And he would tell us these stories. Tough Tony had over, if you consider being paid
Mm-hmm.
a professional fight, he had over 200 professional fights. He said there were times when I fought 3 times a week. He said I had different names that I would fight under. He said, but I would go from one city, have a bout, then I go to another city and have a bout. And Mr. Bill, was a heavyweight when he fought, and Tough Tony looked like he was probably a welterweight. Mr. Bill said, no. He said, He said, no. They wanted me to spar with him. He said he hit too hard. He said, I ain't getting in the ring with him. He said, it's literally like getting hit by a sledgehammer. He said, and that's before the fight. That's why you train it. So the idea of them not being paid, them not handling the business part, nobody, and I mean nobody, cares about prize fighters. Even some of the people who are around them don't care about prize fighters. I'm reminded of an interview that Howard Stern did with Buster Douglas. Buster didn't know the difference between gross and net when he got paid.
What?
Buster Douglas was world heavyweight champion, living in an apartment. Buster doesn't really make any money until he had that one defense against Evander Holyfield. Think about how many people. I mean, you think about it. Think about a Beyonce. Think about a Jay-Z. Think about a Michael Jordan. Think about any of these entertainers. I remember Nick Cannon said this about Mariah Carey. He said, do you understand that for her to leave the house, it costs about $150,000 between makeup, security, transportation, this, and that? Okay.
Wow.
Prize fighters got to pay everybody. Trainer, training facility, training camp. They have to pay their sparring partners. This isn't a situation where you get paid $25 million like with Floyd. And people think, well, Floyd got $25 million. No, Floyd didn't get $25 million. Floyd got paid $25 million, but the government take theirs off the top, number one. And then everybody around him has to be paid. You heard Taraji P. Henson talking about that, about being an actress. She said, yeah, you see that I got paid $750,000. She said, but I got to pay everybody that's around me. And she's crying that, by the time she's done paying everybody, she might have $20,000 left. Wow. So you got to handle the business part of it. If you don't handle the business part of it, you're gonna be in trouble, because there is no pension. There's nothing coming for you. So if you do like a figure like Adrian Bronner has done, and it appears that he's run through his money, what's coming now that you're not fighting? Absolutely, positively nothing. And many people have called for some type of legislation, some type of intervention, where professional boxers would be able to get a retirement, but they haven't been able to get, to figure that out. Wow. And you'll see quite a few of them fighting past their prime. And a part of it is they like being on that stage, but another part of that is they need the money.
Very, very interesting. And so, Doc, when we look at how this transfers into liberation, the business part of it, the making the money, because you have to have that, you have to be able to finance your own revolution. What's your thoughts on that? Is that some place where we have fallen short historically and still fall short at?
Oh, certainly. I mean, if you go back and you just look at one movement, being the civil rights movement, you take a look at civil rights. Yeah, the civil rights movement doesn't have a economic component associated with it, not in a straightforward major way, not at all. And so you're out here struggling and marching and getting beat for the right to vote. Well, the question that is often asked is, which one is more powerful? The vote or the dollar? And the argument for, and you can look at what's going on with international politics right now. there are very few, relatively few. Let's be clear about this. There are very few Jews in this nation.
Mhm.
They're not the favorite minority population as far as the largest one as far as numbers go. They're
Mhm.
probably not even in the top 8 as far as numbers go. But you deal with them because they have money. They have the ability to buy influence. And that's what has historically occurred. And many people who look at it, in a quote unquote logical way, they don't understand that. They don't understand why black folk had to scrimp and save and put their little dollars together to open up the African American Historical Museum in DC. I
Right.
was a fellow at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Look at here. You want to talk about there's a reason why, you have this question of, is it better to have been born blind or to have been able to see for some time and then go blind?
Mhm.
I kind of had that experience when I was dealing with the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. Okay, I didn't been to conferences and put up in places. Okay,
Mhm.
but nothing like what they had. Playboy, look at here,
Mm.
man, brother, look here. They put me up in a spot. I had a living room, a dining room. I had 2 vanities. I had 3 bedrooms.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah, right out right I was within 2 blocks of Georgetown. Okay, I could walk to Georgetown. All right, and one of my I just saw him when I was in Baltimore. My homeboy
Mhm.
Daryl was commuting from Baltimore to DC every day. He decided he don't want to commute no more since I'm there. Okay,
Right.
I'm there for like a month. Okay, so he creates this fictitious argument with his wife. Okay, well, you know what? I'll just leave then. The fool came and moved in with me. Okay, and I called her. I said, "Yo, your husband is with me," and I gave her the address. She packed her bag because she worked in DC too, and she moved in. Okay, so we all in there together. But it was one of those things where, to show you the exclusive level, I went outside to my then wife was coming
Mhm.
to visit, and so I go outside waiting on her taxi to arrive. I'm sitting on one of those USA Today newspaper things where you put the money in and then you
Okay.
open and you grab. I'm
You had
sitting
to pick,
and
yeah.
I saw 2 cop cars go by.
Mhm.
This is maybe, I don't know, October, November. It was getting ready to get cold. I didn't think nothing about the 2 cop cars going by.
Right.
Then I saw another one go by. I ain't thinking nothing. Man, next thing I know, it is cops coming from everywhere you could imagine. Okay. I'm sitting on this newspaper thing, drinking. I can tell you, I was drinking some apple juice. I had my hood up, okay, because it was kind of cold.
Right.
Okay. I had no idea they was coming for me. They came, yoked your boy up, wanted to know what I was doing over there, this,
Wow.
and that, walked me down to the hotel because they didn't believe that I was staying there. They walked me down there, and the doorman, he was like, yeah. He's here, this and that. And it was 2 sisters that was there. They said, look, going forward, do not come outside with your hoodie on and do not stand around loitering. Said you cannot do that, not in this neighborhood. So
Wow.
I had a conversation with the doorman, and he told me that they had been robbed 3 or 4 times within like the last 3 or 4 months, and he was always on duty at the door. And I said, I said, yeah. I said, you can tell me. Were you was it an inside job? Nah, nothing like that. Nah. Okay. So they got money. And I was able to look, on the back of the door sometimes of a hotel. You can see the rates for rooms and things like that. And that
Mm.
room was like $595 a night.
Damn.
Think about that. So money ain't no issue with them.
Right.
So it brings up the question of, when you're talking about black folk in economics, who's the brother that does such an excellent job? He's the modern day Claude Anderson. I want to say his name is Bryant. His last name is Bryant, but he deals with black finance and black economics. Brilliant brother, and I mean absolutely brilliant. I actually follow him on social media, but he'll tell you the transformative nature of just having our people have their credit straight, the savings that would come along with that, the buying power, what you should be doing. That's not something that was a major cog of the civil rights movement, and I'll take it a step further, dealing with the Black Power era.
Mm-hmm.
You know, beyond the basic common sense things of circulating your dollar amongst your own people. It's one of the things. One of my Floyd stories, I talk about the idea of Floyd refusing to spend his money with a brother who's in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
And Floyd makes this very interesting point. He says, listen, I know him. And the first thing is that the Arab store that's right across from it, he said, Floyd's like, I'm a retiree. He said that this brother's stuff is 25 to 50 cents more expensive than theirs, and they treat me well. He says, and when he finishes with his workday, he takes those black dollars that we done gave to him out of this community as he drives home and puts it in a white bank, and he goes into that white. So there's something beyond just a very basic understanding of circulating your money with each other. There's a couple additional steps about what is your responsibility to the people who have, in many ways, given you exclusive domain, a monopoly upon them spending their money with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a responsibility to them, or are you just now a rich black capitalist? Mm-hmm. So the inability or the failure to have those types of conversations is major, because this is a capitalist nation. Even though you know that I'm a democratic socialist, but money rules here. Mm-hmm. Okay, and let's just be honest about that. That he who has that cash is going to be able to make the rules. Mm-hmm. So no, we haven't as a community done a very good job of that. You know, you can just look at the different ways that, and I don't hate black women, but you can look at the way black women spend their money. Mm. You know, where those lashes made at? Where's that hair coming out of? Where's, whose nail shop are you going to? Those are all dollars that are leaving the black community. Mm-hmm. And until our people really understand in a major way that where you buy your chicken, your fried chicken, is a political decision, mm-hmm. we still ain't getting it.
Exactly. And the next thing I want to talk about, because you quote this part often, you say Dr. Collins said that not only do you have to educate, but you have to entertain. So I think he called it edutainment.
Yeah, we are a rhythmic people,
right?
And so you have got to give black folk information plus inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now I want to show this next clip. And then we're going to come back and talk about it and how it fits with liberation.
I don't even want the title. Keep it. Just fight with me. I just want to hurt them. He can keep his belt. You're a reporter about boxing and never fought. And never been a champion. And don't know our pain, our sweat. And don't know it's so fucking lonely. This is the loneliest sport in the world. You know what I'm saying? I didn't fuck my wife in a year. You think I give a damn about Andrew Galata? I haven't seen my kids in months. None of your damn business, white boy, but I haven't seen them in months. And you think I give a damn about you and then y'all? I don't care about living or dying. I'm not a dysfunctional motherfucker. I want to blaze. Yeah, bring Andrew Galata on. Bring those that they can keep their title. I don't want their title. I want to strip them of their fucking health. Cause I'm in pain. I want them to see pain. I want their kids to see pain. Lennox Lewis, I want his kids to, oh, daddy, are you okay, Dad? Yeah, I don't care about them because they don't care about me and my kids.
Do you think you can beat Lennox Lewis?
I don't listen, Ryan.
He's answering questions.
Calm down, Mike. Calm down.
Nah, I don't know. Listen, Ryan.
Go
I know
on.
I could kill him. Let's leave it like that.
All right. So there we have Mike Tyson in his little talk. And what he said, I looked at it all as entertainment. I didn't look at it as he's being serious or anything like that. In the boxing world, do you have to carry on like that? Is it necessary to do that so that you can sell tickets or to hype yourself up? What's the purpose, Doc?
I think that a part of that is selling tickets and showmanship, but I also think that there is for some select individuals, I believe that is probably who they are at their core. That's who Mike was at his core, and you can't take a man who has, for all intents and purposes, been raised in some variants of hell, and has tried to get himself out of that hell, and expect for him to be within the normal range of emotions and actions of people. It's just, for me, that just happens to be someone who's famous, but there are other people who are suffering similarly and express themselves similarly to that. Yeah. So I think a part of it is showmanship, but then there is another part of it. There's and this is something that especially if you talk to NFL players, a collision sport, there's still a brotherhood amongst them that you strapped it on, and you came out here and you fought as a warrior. Boxing certainly has that element right there. And you hear him talking about Lennox Lewis, and the irony of that is, quite simply, Lennox is going to beat Mike and beat him very, very soundly. But you still have that kind of that brotherhood amongst them. Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray and Marvelous Marvin, they didn't hate each other, but they're competitors, they're warriors. Right. And you put them in the right situation, that's what you're going to get. And once again, you have some people who are, for lack of a better way of looking at it, they're showmen. Bernard Hopkins is a showman. Mike Tyson was a showman. Who's the brother that Mitch Blood Green, showman. Okay, the guy that Mike hit in the eye. They could sell a fight, and let's be very clear about this. Their ability to sell a fight is something that needs to happen if they're going to get paid in the way that they want to be paid, that they need and they deserve to be paid, because this money for them literally has to last a lifetime. And it's one of the reasons, because you think about who these men are who are fighting. They haven't had a business finance class. They haven't had an economics class. They're often coming from such a poverty, and their poverty is multifaceted. I'm not just talking about economically. I'm talking about socially, culturally, all of these different things. They're desperate to live life. And it is possible for you to go so overboard, especially if you're one of the top fighters, at best, you may get 3 paychecks a year at best.
Damn.
Okay. How often do you see Floyd fight? How often, at the top of their game? When's the next time and the brother actually retired? The the brother who just won pound for pound. I can't think of his name. I must be losing my mind. That Bud Crawford, Terrence Crawford. No, Terrence Crawford is what, maybe going to fight 2 to 3 times a year during his heyday. Because you got that recovery that needs to happen. You've got the training and the preparation for the next fight. And so what Mike is talking about when he says, I ain't been with my wife in a year, that's prep time. He's away from his family, getting hardened in every way possible.
Wow. And so when we're understanding what you just said about the entertainment aspect of them pumping up the fight,
let's be clear. We're talking about show business. And there's a reason that business is twice as long as show. You got to handle the business. One fighter said this. He was talking about Don King. He said, the thing with Don King is this. He said, you can get rich with Don King. He said, you can get rich with him. But the problem is he going to get rich regardless of if you do or not. And just as these brothers are not business majors or accounting majors or what have you, imagine them trying to read the legalese in a contract. The idea of being frugal, of watching your money, is, to be honest with you, not an American trait. How many Americans live their lives that way? I would argue not many. In the boxing world, the only one that I can really think of that a humorous story comes up about is Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Hagler was cheap. Hagler made his people literally. You didn't get no hotel room by yourself. You had to be in that room with somebody else. And so he wins the title, and you have a situation where his people are like, "Come on, champ, let's celebrate, let's celebrate." And they ordered some champagne and had it delivered to the room. Well, when Marvin Hagler's credit card statement arrived, he was pissed. What the hell? Oh no, they gonna pay me back for this. Okay, so that's the type of frugality, if not cheapness, that you're gonna need to have if you're gonna make that money last for a long time. But if you look at how quickly that money can go,
right,
that's a whole nother issue. And when you're talking about the idea of Black liberation, what are the means of funding a Black organization? My mind is going towards the Nation of Islam, and how I remember being at Bowling Green State University, or it may have been University of Toledo. They're very close to each other, but I think it was BG. And Minister Farrakhan was scheduled to speak, and these brothers spent 45 minutes passing the bucket around, trying to get people to give money and what have you, to the point where some people began to boo. And they bring Minister Farrakhan onto the stage, and he tells them, he says, "Listen, the truth is free." He said, y'all hit them a little too hard and too long, asking for money.
right.
But what does it cost to administrate and run such an organization? And who's giving money for that? Of course, people say theoretically they would like to be liberated, but if you were to ask Black folk to give $10 a month, $10, you're talking about a fast food combo meal,
Right.
to go into a fund. Well, you got a whole lot of issues that's gonna come out of that. Who's gonna be in charge of the fund? What's going, y'all gonna be transparent? Was brother, you gave $10. And so you're talking about the need to fund movements and organizations. One of the things that we rarely talk about when we're talking about the civil rights movement is, where did the money come from? Where did
Exactly.
that bail money come from? Because
Exactly.
you're talking about a people who are by and large not, you know, well off financially. And principally, when you're talking, it comes from black churches, you know, taking up collections, but also you have Jews who were giving quite a bit of money for the sake of the civil rights movement.
Mm,
And the other group that is never talked about as funding so many of the civil rights movement's activities are the rappers of their day, blues musicians.
mm,
They gave a lot of money. You go back and you look at how successful a BB King was, how successful those types of cats are. They gave money to the movement.
mhm, mm. Do you think that when you're talking about entertainment part, and I thought to think
Mhm.
about the arrest of Martin King, I thought about the polling place incident with the new Black Panthers,
Okay.
um, that these things were done for that value of edutainment.
Mhm.
I'm going to use this as a reason that you're going to put money in those coffers, that you're going to also make sure that you're supporting. Um, what's your thoughts on that, Doc?
I say that a different way.
A different way?
Yeah,
Okay. I'll start with
because
King.
I'm not clear on exactly what you're asking.
I think that some of the okay, a perfect example. When King made the decision, we're not going to use adults, we're going to use children,
Hmm.
right? He did that for a value of, we're going to get more people come in, we can get our issues raised higher. It's going to be on TV, it's going to bring that extra eyes, it's going to bring money more into our coffers,
Okay.
it's going to help propel our movement.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, your what you just said there in many ways coincides with one of my beliefs, that Dr. King was actually running a public relations campaign,
Mhm.
that he wanted to, at the whitest hour of America, which is Sunday, 12 noon, when white folk are sitting down eating after church. Black folk, they already done with church by
Mhm.
12 noon. We ain't. Okay. Or during the evening, Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock. He wanted broadcast on national news broadcast to have an incident,
Mhm.
so that you got a moral dilemma. When your children ask why this is happening to these black folk, what are you going to say? And in
Mhm.
many ways, King is putting them on a hot seat. So I agree with that, and I can see that as part of a strategy. But a group like the new Black Panther Party, I don't see that occurring. I don't know who they would be trying to sway and why they would be trying to sway them, because most people have already put you into a bag that unfortunately they seem to live down to.
Mm.
Even the using of the icon of the panther is something that is, for all intents and purposes, racially polarizing,
Mhm.
because of the historical legacy associated with it, that's coming out of the organization headed by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. So their membership numbers, I don't see who they're trying to convince. If people are leaning that way and want to be a part of such an organization, I don't think that there's any persuading that needs to be done.
Mhm.
I think that that they're aware of you, and you you recruit from what it is that comes to you.
Definitely. So we're going to move to our first fighter that we're going to talk about this evening. And our first fighter, let's throw his picture up here. Bing, 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 bing. The Radical King, Jack Johnson. So they say, Doc, that Jack Johnson refused to be humble in the face of white supremacy. What's your take on that? Was he a brash showman that, this, that, and the other? What the hell are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I mean, Jack Johnson knows what everybody else knows. There can't nobody do nothing with him. You'll put Jim Jeffries in there to get beat up. You can't do nothing with him. And a part of it is a psychological makeup that he has. He's straight out of Galveston, Texas. And when you think about the history of racial animosity and racial violence that comes in Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, you had better be big, bold, and brash if you're going to stand up to white folk. You think about this dark-skinned Negro right here taking white women. Okay, that's part of his entourage. And you really, to be honest with you, having the nerve to do that, confidence has to be off the charts, to be honest with you. So what more can you say about a man? And this is a man who fought when there was no limit on the rounds. You kept fighting. It wasn't just 15 rounds. You kept fighting until one man didn't want to fight no more. Wow. And you put Jeffries in there, you can put John O'Sullivan in there, you put whoever you want to in there, they're not going to defeat that Negro right there. You're going to literally need the Department of Justice to come in and corral that Negro in right there. Because there's nothing that you're going to be able to ever do it. You ain't going to be able to explain nothing to him. He don't understand. And his constant demeanor, I guarantee you, is F you. Come over here and make me do it. And this is a man, I mean, you have to think about the symbolism of racial superiority. And that symbolism is quite simply that the white man is smarter, the white man is stronger, the white man has everything over Negroes, because Negroes are often, they're having the constant debate as to if we're even human. So Johnson's got to win for the sake of our people, number one. But also, number two, they don't want to give him the opportunity to win. Just don't never fight the Negro. He'll never be world heavyweight champion if we never give him that chance. So they're going to avoid him. But eventually, when he does get his opportunity, he handles his business in a way that is startling to them.
Wow. I'll read this little pinup about him. It says that Jack Johnson, born John Arthur Johnson, March 31st, 1878, died June 10th, 1946, was an American heavyweight boxer nicknamed the Galveston Giant. He became the first Black world heavyweight boxing champion in 1908, a monumental achievement during the height of Jim Crow segregation in the United States. He won the World Colored Heavyweight Championship in 1903 and then captured the World Heavyweight title on December 26, 1908 in Sydney, Australia, by defeating Tommy Burns, making him the first Black man to hold the World Heavyweight Boxing Championship. Johnson was known for his defensive skills, ring intelligence, and counter-punching style, as well as a flamboyant life outside the ring, including openly defying racial norms by dating and marrying white women, which made him a frequent target of racist backlash. over a 33-year professional career from 1890s into the 1930s. He fought more than 100 professional bouts, winning the majority of them and becoming one of the most influential heavyweight boxing and influential heavyweights in boxing history. His most famous fight against Jim Jeffries on July 4th, 1910, in Reno, Nevada, widely billed as the fight of the century, where Johnson's victory over the former white champion inflamed racial tensions, but also symbolized a profound challenge to white supremacy in sports. Now, Doc, after he beat that fight, the whites went on a killing spree, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to remember, they went and got Jim Jeffries out of retirement to come and defeat him. That was their man. It's a weird way of looking at it, but you ever seen the movie The Gladiator with Russell Crowe?
Yeah.
Remember, they go and get this world famous gladiator to go up against Maximus, and Maximus ends up killing him. Kind of the same thing. They went and got Jim Jeffries out of retirement to come and subdue Jack Johnson. He put them ashy hands on him, and that was the end of it. Wasn't nothing else to be said.
Wow. So do y'all have, like, in Galveston, do y'all have like a statue or honor position for him?
Yeah, there's a statue for Jack Johnson in Galveston. But you have to remember that Galveston is a city built upon death, because you had a hurricane that came through Galveston. And Galveston, when you're walking in Galveston, I want to say that the figure that they told us was actual Galveston is 7 to 13 feet below where you're standing. They built it up as a result of the hurricane that came and the flood, but there are bodies all through Galveston that are buried all through Galveston. It's what it is. But yeah, they have something that honors Jack Johnson. Nothing all that big, but he is noted in Galveston history and Galveston lore. If you ever go down there and you take a tour of Galveston, they do have some things for that acknowledge Jack Johnson's presence there.
Oh, wow. And so I kind of wonder, like, because we are going to watch a clip of him, but it's like when I'm watching, it's like he's only people at the fight are white folks.
You're right.
People watching this fight, and he's beating white men like it ain't nothing. And I just wonder, like, he wasn't nervous. He wasn't afraid that the crowd was going to lynch his ass.
Apparently not. You go back and you look at the history of Ali. There's this. I know you're not a big rap fan, but there was a brother. He was a rapper named MC Breeze. Breeze had a song called Tyson, the young son of no one. And one of the clips little snippets that he uses is of Muhammad Ali. And Ali is saying, and you probably heard Ali say this quote, yeah. I know hundreds of thousands of people are coming to see me fight, but 99% of them are coming to see me lose. And that's kind of sums up Jack Johnson, that these people were coming so that they could tell the story firsthand of how the white man defeated this black man. And it's one of the things that for this nation, we constantly hear these insinuations that if you just simply stop talking about race, that it would go away. Now try that with cancer or any other terminal disease. It'll go away once it kills you. But it isn't, historically speaking, are people who have been addicted to race. It's that other community that has historically been addicted to race. It's one of the reasons why it was such big news when you had white ministers who would join with Martin King and Ralph Abernathy, because that's an unusual situation. It's the white community that didn't want us in their in their neighborhoods, that didn't want us at their schools, or at, as you can see right here, even at sporting events. That didn't want to have a fair playing ground for us to even try out to play.
Exactly.
We often talk about the idea of Jackie Robinson integrating MLB. Anyone who knows anything about the Negro Leagues and knows anything about black baseball will tell you Jackie Robinson, he was good, but he wasn't the best Negro League player. You got Satchel Paige. Oh no, Jackie wasn't the best. You got Satchel Paige. You got, and the only man in the history, the house that Ruth built, Yankee Stadium, only one man in the history of a baseball game in Yankee Stadium ever hit a ball out of Yankee Stadium. And I mean out of Yankee Stadium. We're not talking about a home run. We're talking about it literally cleared the walls of Yankee Stadium and landed in the parking lot. And many people have measured it and said he had to hit that ball over 680 feet. And that man is Josh Gibson. Josh Gibson was not even considered to be the first one to integrate MLB, because Josh Gibson had some issues going on. If he were alive today, they would say that he probably had bipolar disorder.
Oh, wow.
And you think about the restraint that it takes for Jackie Robinson to be hit repeatedly by white pitchers and not to react, to hear the things that were being said from the stands and not react. Josh Gibson would have reacted. And when he reacted, they would have used that as see, animals. He can't control himself.
Wow. Yeah, it's very interesting. It says about Jack Johnson, it says Jack Johnson became world heavyweight champion in 1908, right in the heart of Jim Crow era, when segregation, lynching, and legal white supremacy structured everyday life in the U.S. Heavyweight boxing was seen as the ultimate symbol of manhood and racial hierarchy. So the idea of a black man dominating white fighters directly challenged the ideology that whites were naturally superior.
Yes.
The symbol of black defiance and psychological liberation. His victories over Tommy Burns in 1908, and especially Jim Jeffries, the fight of the century in 1910, shattered the myth that white men were physically and morally superior. After he beat Jeffries, race riots erupted across the U.S., with at least 19 to 20 people killed and hundreds injured, mostly black victims of white mobs. For many black Americans, seeing a black man beat the great white hope on equal terms was a profound psychological victory, signaling that white supremacy could be challenged and not endured. Now, with that thought, Doc, of seeing Jack Johnson just totally destroy white folks out there in that field, why do you think?
Before you go forward, I mean, I want to say this about the Berlin Olympics.
Okay.
It was supposed to be the moment where Adolf Hitler's theory about Caucasians, the Caucasus Mountains, the Aryan nation, that they being superior to everyone else. And of course you have Jesse Owens from the Ohio State University, who showed up, won 4 golds, would have won 5, but he sat one race out to allow a Jewish teammate to get a gold medal. But in the wake of Jesse Owens winning, a reporter asked Adolf Hitler, said, "So, how do you feel about what just occurred?" And Adolf Hitler says, "Of course, he can outrun my men. He's an animal after all."
Oh, wow.
So even in defeat, they're going to come up with some type of justification that allows them to skirt and avoid the obvious that you lost to a superior being.
Mm. And so with Jack Johnson's victory,
Mhm.
From a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, of course, how did the pride of Black people, what how would you say that it rose from where it was prior to the fight, during the fight, and after the fight?
I believe that we have a certainty and an assuredness. So I would put it at about a 8 or a 9 going into the fight. The winning of the fight, I would put it at maybe a 10, and the after effects of the fight maybe at a 25. That
Mm.
there's a personal self-esteem boost that
Mhm.
happens. But the problem with that is that that's purely emotional. And in
Mm.
time, that emotion is going to dissipate, and you're going to have to look up and in many ways see that you're in the same place that you kind of always been. That they're still controlling everything. They're still running everything. They still have the ability to rig the game for you to not be able to and we're not even talking about being able to compete on an even playing field. We're talking about a situation where you're going to literally have to fight them with one hand tied behind your back. That's their way. I'm reminded right now, Al Davis, former owner of the Oakland Raiders. Al Davis's mantra was, "If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying."
Mm.
And that in many ways is the political stance of so many people who have worked against Black folk historically. They've utilized their numeric superiority to, in many ways, change the rules at the last minute.
Mm. So, Doc, what power was behind Johnson that stopped them crackers from lynching his ass? What kept him alive? Why they didn't move on him, especially marrying and dating white women? Why they didn't move?
I think that there's an understanding
Mhm.
that this Negro, number one, may try and kill you if you try and do something to him. I think that's part of it. But I think that a larger part of that is going to be tied up in waiting for the right moment to do it. Can you give me 1 second?
Mhm.
Because I think.
All right. So while Doc is going, let's see. I'm gonna read some more about Brother Johnson here. Everyday rebellion against Jim Crow norms. Johnson wasn't a respectability politics figure. His impact came partly because he refused to perform. He was just defiant. He dressed flamboyantly, drove expensive cars, lived loudly and publicly as a wealthy Black man. He openly dated and married white women, which white authorities and media saw as a direct threat to the racial order. He spoke and carried himself as an equal or superior to white men, rather than adopting the humble posture expected of a Black public figure. Legal scholars have pointed out that white and Black Americans both understood that his individualism and refusal to know his place made him a lightning rod for racial anxieties. And I think that that is very, very important that you live your life. And since he was very rebellious, which was a good thing, you backed up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just had to run the other room to get the power cord thing.
Okay. So this, I was just reading while you were gone.
Yeah,
that,
I could hear you. I could
okay.
hear you.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So what are your thoughts about that? That he lived his life, fancy cars, expensive sport cars, loudly, and
I mean,
definitely gave the white women the stick.
he lived his life according to how he wanted to live. I'll say it that way. That's
Mhm.
one aspect of it. But I also know that there's another level of behavior that is in many ways by and large aimed at poking fun at white folk.
Mm.
Because you're dealing with a Negro here who could have principally had the vast majority of women, Black women for sure, on his team.
Mhm.
And he chose to do it the way that he chose to do it. In many ways, it is the consummate fighting of the power that you're going to see a Black man do against a dominant white Jim Crow society. So he lived freely. He lived as a free man who didn't owe anyone anything. However, the the lesson that we can get from Jack Johnson's life is a simple one, that even the strongest, toughest, biggest, baddest Negro can be brought down and can be hung.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that has been, especially when you're talking about the most notable Negroes that we know. We talked earlier about the Mann Act, which is what they got Jack Johnson on, being
Mhm.
the exact same thing that they got Puff on. Who would ever thought that we would live in a world where simultaneously R. Kelly and Puff, two of the wealthiest Black men that we have in our midst, would be put behind bars, and there wouldn't be a doggone thing that Black folk could or wanted to do about it.
Mhm.
So you're dealing with an exercise of white power that, to be absolutely honest with you, we don't have the ability to match. We just don't. We don't have that mechanism. We don't have that organizational structure to be able to do it. And to be honest with you, there is something that can be said for. There are probably some Negroes who, of that day and of this day as well, who, if they did possess the power to intercede on behalf of Jack Johnson, would have refused to do so simply because he was a Black man.
Mm. Wow. Now, was the Mann Act already a law prior to him doing this, or they made it just for him?
No, I think the Mann Act was already in existence. I
Okay.
believe it was in existence. I'm not sure though, but I'm pretty sure it was something that was already on the books, because it's dealing with the transportation of females across state lines for immoral, sexual reasons and what have you. It's a law that is only applied to certain people
Mm.
and not applied for other people.
Mhm.
Because I mean, let's be very, very clear that within the Oval Office right now, we have a individual who surely has violated the Mann Act
Mhm.
just by virtue of who he married. You
Mm.
can't tell me that that isn't what was going on there.
Wow. Does he have any living relatives that you know of?
No, not that I know of, but I'm sure he would. I mean, you're dealing with Galveston, you're dealing with Texas, you
Mhm.
know. And this would have been this was a moment. I was writing about this earlier in a different context, But this is a moment where Black folk had large families because it was economically beneficial, because they're agriculturalists, they're sharecropping. And so the more children you had, it would lend to the more farm hands that you would have to be able to try to pull the load upwards and potentially generate a profit.
Wow. Okay. We're going to watch this short clip of Jack Johnson real quick.
Jack Johnson was a black man back when white people lynched Negroes on weekends. They would send him letters saying, "You fighting a white man? If you knock him out, we'll kill you." He said, "Just kill my black buggers. I'm gonna knock this white man cold." I know I'm bad, but he was crazy.
This was the white man's crown, and everybody hated him for it.
Jack Johnson was a man 100 years ahead of his time. Born in 1878, Jack grew up in Galveston, Texas, in a racially tolerant neighborhood. While Galveston may have been an oasis of tolerance, the rest of the world was decidedly not. Jack Johnson was bold enough to attempt to declare his personal independence in a world defined by race. In his search for money, he didn't have to grow from the ground. Jack started taking part in events called battle royales. These were contests where several black men were blindfolded and made to fight while the crowds drank and cheered and placed bets with blood money. Jack learned to fight mostly without the aid of his sight.
I want to stop it right there, but I never knew about that. That I was like, damn, that's real?
Yeah.
So you knew about that, Doc?
Yeah. Yeah. If you ever see the movie The Learning Tree?
No.
Okay. If you watch The Learning Tree, they have a scene in there where they have a battle royale. Yeah. That was a common thing. And white folk would bet as to who would be the last man standing and what have you. Yeah. Yeah. It was purely entertainment for the white community. And when you made the statement earlier that when you look at the audience, all you see is white folk out there in the audience. Yeah, we were their entertainment. They're betting on who's going to be the last survivor.
Damn. Boy, oh boy.
He learns to read his opponent's movements like Braille, and he starts winning these brutal, degrading contests with alarming consistency. Jack builds enough of a reputation blindfolded that eventually he starts taking and winning regular boxing matches. While boxing was less segregated than the rest of the country, a man of any race could earn a living assuming he could fight. Jack Johnson could certainly fight. The only title in boxing that was truly segregated was the heavyweight championship. While black fighters had claimed the titles at the lower weights, the discrimination against black heavyweights ran deep until Jack Johnson got too good and too loud to simply ignore. At the turn of the century, prize fighting was technically illegal. In 1901, he fights a veteran knockout artist in Joe Choinsky. While Choinsky beat Jack, they ended up in jail, sharing a cell for prize fighting. An enterprising sheriff saw an opportunity and snuck 2 pairs of gloves to them so they could spar. It was in a jail cell where Jack was put through his professional paces. The sparring prisoners started drawing crowds, and the sheriff started charging to watch. Soon released on good behavior and with a few new tricks in his bag, Jack would make his run at the segregated title. In 1902, Johnson makes his mark on the division when he upsets the 2-time former colored champion, Frank Childs. The next year, he faced off with the reigning champion, Denver Ed Martin. and beat him on points over 20 rounds. Jack Johnson's reign over the colored title alone made him a great. Many of his most difficult opponents he met in defense of the colored title. While he was proud of his accomplishment, Jack wasn't satisfied holding a title with a qualifier like colored in its description. As Johnson began...
Now, did you knew about the black boxing league?
Yeah. I mean, they didn't allow us to participate in a major way in their stuff. Yeah, you had a black version of everything. I mean, you have to remember that you're dealing with a segregated society. The same way that you have Negro leagues in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to have a black league. You know, one of the things that is rarely talked about, it wasn't necessarily totally segregated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back and you look at the NBA and the rival league that came up, the ABA was certainly the black league. The ABA was in many ways like and one with street ball and things like that.
Mm.
And later they're going to combine the two. You have to remember that the first real showman that we get in professional basketball, Julius Erving, he came up through the ABA. And just sort of a side note for me is that one of the biggest complaints I have about Major League Baseball is that here, when you look at professional basketball, you saw a merger of the NBA absorbing some of the ABA teams. You know, those owners kept ownership of their teams. But when you look at what happened in baseball, you see a rating of Negro League teams just for the talent. And none of the Negro League owners were allowed to keep ownership stake in their product. They just took the very life out of the product. They took the talent away from them and left them on the outside looking in. There are no Major League Baseball, no black Major League Baseball owners to this day, I believe. You have Magic Johnson with some stake in the Dodgers, but he's not majority owner.
Right. So you're saying that in the black basketball league, those owners got to keep their teams when they merged with the white NBA?
Well, the ABA, no, there were no black ABA owners either. But the ABA was more of the street ball, loosey-goosey type of entertaining basketball, like an Artis Gilmore or George Gervin. Dunking. You got to remember the NBA frowned upon dunking for the longest time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Interesting. Okay.
James Naismith, when he created basketball, he never imagined a Shaq, a Kobe. He never imagined that you would be able to have a Negro who could run down the court and jump from the free throw line and dunk the ball with ease. He never imagined that.
All right, let's continue.
And his march toward the championship, and the old guard of boxing closed ranks against him. The white champion Jack wanted to fight was a tank of a man named Jim Jeffries. By 1904, Jeffries had defended the title 7 times against exclusively white contenders. He retired undefeated, never giving Jack a shot at the title. Jack took that personally. The next champion was decided when underdog Tommy Burns won a 20-round decision over Marvin Hart. Tommy defended his championship 11 times before finally agreeing to fight Jack after he purchased ringside seats and started taunting Tommy during his fights. Burns was eloquent in his defense in taking on Johnson, spoke a quote worthy enough to credit him as the first true world champion. No venue in either the US or the UK was willing to hold the fight for fear of a riot. The fight eventually found a home in Sydney, Australia.
With the understanding that if it got out of hand, the local constabulary would come in and stop the fight.
The moment Jack Johnson finally comes to grips with the white champion, he smiles a gold-toothed grin at the crowd. Every Jack Johnson fight was in front of mostly white crowds that showered him in racial slurs and threats of violence. Johnson smiled through it.
Within a few seconds, Burns was on the floor. Burns got up and was knocked down again.
Jack's mastery in the clinch made the champion a ragdoll. Tommy looked like a teenager trying to wrestle with his new stepdad. Johnson controlled every second. The film is stopped by local police the moment Tommy is about to hit the floor. For the first time in history, it was unquestionable who was the best fighter in boxing. The boxing establishment searched for a white man able to beat him. It took them 7 years. Despite the occasional arrests, Jack Johnson was the freest black man in America. He did what he wanted, and the white world hated him for it. He lived a lavish lifestyle of cars, clothes, and had his own ideas on what race relations should entail. Jack Johnson is credited with desegregating more brothels than any man in America. He opened 2 mixed-race nightclubs, and he married 3 women, all of them white. The establishment was so thoroughly offended by Johnson's conduct that calls grew in the press for the retired, though still undefeated, Jim Jeffries to return and put Jack in his place. When Jeffries agreed, the public was whipped into a frenzy by the event that came to be called the fight of the century. Even men Jack thought of as friends, like his one-time mentor, Joe Choinsky, defected to Jeffries' camp to instruct him on Jack's tendencies. None of those people were in the ring to help Jim Jeffries.
Jeffries somehow found the will to keep moving forward. But Johnson's sharp, accurate punches were taking a devastating toll.
Jack's spiderweb of a clinch game held the ex-champion in place as he literally and figuratively carried Jeffries, saving him from knockdowns, only to prolong the show and ensure there was no talk of a fluke or rematch. Jack did whatever he wanted to the formerly undefeated champion, and Jeffries was finally allowed to lose in the 15th.
Jeffries' side called it quits.
When word got out, race riots erupted across the country. Dozens were injured. 20 people died. Jack's biggest opponent would finally move against him. The U.S. government began to look at Jack Johnson for violating the Mann Act, a law made to prevent the trafficking of prostitutes and broadly enough to be used against anyone the authorities felt like deserved it. The words immoral purposes get applied anytime Jack leaves a state with his own wife in the passenger seat. He was found guilty by an all-white jury and sentenced to a year and a day. Jack skipped bail and flew to France. In Paris, the champion in exile is still defending his title. In 1914, he takes Frank Moran to a clear 20-round decision. Jack was never truly comfortable anywhere but the ring. Signs were starting to show that his intemperate lifestyle might be catching up to him. Jack would never again fight weighing less than 220 pounds. He was so famous that English troops in World War I began to refer to the German 150mm artillery as Jack Johnsons due to their black smoke on impact. Jack Johnson finally meets his match in Cuba against the biggest white hope yet. Jess Willard was 6'6", 240 pounds of Kansas farm boy strength. Jack took training lightly, having seen the big man box. Jess was far from a classical boxer, and Jack was sure he could KO him quickly. Jack started to hammer on the anvil that would ultimately break him. Willard was as advertised, a lumbering target. But the 45-round distance was a marathon. Jack landed early and often, but try as he might, he couldn't get Big Jess out of there. The tide slowly begins to turn on the 37-year-old champion. Jess jabbed and punched with patience. And after 26 grueling rounds, he was standing, and Jack Johnson wasn't. Rumors immediately swirled that Johnson had thrown the fight for some insidious payoff. But who goes 26 rounds to take a dive? Johnson returned to Europe and mostly gave up. He was still fighting, but he was now up to 240 pounds, until he finally got homesick enough to surrender to American authorities at the border. Jack spent his next year in Leavenworth. Jack was never the same fighter, but carries out his career to a drawn-out conclusion in 1931. Jack Johnson dies trying to get a meal at a segregated diner that refused to serve him. Drives off in a righteous fury. High speed and indignant rage rarely mix well, and Jack wraps his car around a telephone pole. He was rushed to the nearest segregated hospital, but couldn't go the distance. At a time when black men around the country lived as second-class citizens, Jack Johnson lived out loud. His renegade pursuit of freedom would come to redefine what a black man could be. His defiant 7-year reign stands as a beacon for generations of exceptional black men at odds with a society that admired their talent but hated their skin color. He asked neither permission nor forgiveness.
Wow. That was something.
Told you.
45 rounds, Doc.
Wasn't no 15-round fight back then.
God damn, 45 rounds?
Can you imagine being 37 years old and fighting 45 rounds?
Ain't no way.
45
Ain't no
rounds.
way.
Yeah.
Ain't no way.
I mean, the equivalent, because now I think what did they do? They reduced it down to 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about almost 4 world heavyweight fights in one night.
Damn.
Yeah.
That brother was something else.
Yeah.
That brother was something else.
And you're talking about he fought 45 rounds without training.
Wow.
Really think about that. 45 rounds without training. He wasn't trained. He didn't even take it seriously.
That's crazy. And Twin says the conditioning was insane.
That had, my father would always say this, that the food came out of rich soil, so it had more nutrients. That's the only explanation that we can give for what we just saw. 45 rounds? Come on now.
Exactly. Wow. So our next fighter that we're going to talk about, Lewis, the Brown Bomber.
Yeah.
The Brown Bomber holds the record for the longest single reign as heavyweight champion, 12 years, and successfully defended his title an astonishing 25 times. Joe Louis. So Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, became not just a Black sports hero, but a national symbol for the entire United States.
Yeah.
Especially in the late 1930s and World War II. Unlike Jack Johnson, whose defiance made him a symbol of Black resistance against Jim Crow, Lewis came to represent American unity, patriotism, and anti-Nazi values while still carrying deep meanings for Black Americans. So you mean to tell me that Joe was an American patriot? What's
well,
going
I mean, you have to realize that Joe Louis comes into extreme prominence during the Great Depression. This is FDR's America. Joe Louis, and keep in mind that the irony of it, that FDR suffers from polio, and so he's in a wheelchair, and the story surrounding FDR was that he loved 2 Black athletes in particular. One was Jesse Owens and the other one was Joe Louis. And Joe Louis becomes America's fighter because he's going to fight the German champion, Max Schmeling. Schmeling beats Joe Louis the first time, and then Louis defeats him the second time. But Louis is the American hero, to be honest with you. And when you really extend it further, when the nation decides that after Pearl Harbor, and they decide that we're going into World War II, they needed to ramp up Black patriotism through propaganda. And the way they do it is one of the most unique ways that one could ever imagine. The U.S. government commissions the generation of the first Black superhero, okay, to get Black folk to really buy into the idea of American patriotism and everything that goes with it. And that I'll ask you, who do you think was the first Black superhero?
I have no idea.
Well, and it wasn't T'Challa. He Wakanda. That's not an American. The first black superhero was Captain America.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Captain America. What?
Captain America used to be black.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like the first 6-7 episodes of the
Really?
comic strip, Captain America was black. I can just find you a picture of him real quickly. But yeah, he was a black man, and he was from Harlem, and he was this is him right here, Isaiah Bradley. Let's see if I can find a better picture of him. Let's see. Yeah, that's him right there. Let me see if I can once again guide me through sharing the screen. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Here we go, right here. Share screen. That's him right there. This guy right here, Isaiah Bradley. He was the original Captain America. If you look at his bicep right here, black soldiers fought under the mantra of the Double V campaign. They were going for victory abroad, and they were going for victory at home.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, think about the Captain America that we know. And what ends up happening is actually they put a whole suit on the black Captain America, and when they stripped it off, he was white. Okay, like he had vitiligo or something. Okay, there was a comic book place in Columbus, Ohio that I would go to, and the owner, you get to know people after a while. He knew I was in Black Studies. He said, "I got something for you," and he gave me a big old poster of Black Captain America. And they were having a debate within the comic book community because one guy wrote a letter into one of their little trade magazines, and he said, "Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember when Captain America was black." And they were like, "No, he was never black. He was this." And a guy went and got the original Captain America, that initial series, and he was black. It was a way to get black soldiers to buy into the idea of patriotism. They gave you your own superhero. And if you know New York City geography a little bit, Black Captain America is from Harlem. Okay, the white Captain America now, he ain't black no more. They put the brother Anthony Mackie in that role now. But the white one, he's from Manhattan. And if you know the geography, Manhattan Island, Harlem is on Manhattan Island. Yeah.
Wow.
So the original Captain America was actually a black man. Yep.
Wow. I never would have thought it.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's one of the real quirky things, that you'll come across. But yeah, he was actually a black man.
Damn. Wow. And so did it work? Did it make black people be more patriotic and rush to join the military?
I don't think that it made them more patriotic. What makes black folk actually join the military, and they're already in the military. Let's be very, very clear about this, that the thing that pulls America out of the Great Depression is World War II. So black folk are serving to get a paycheck, and I think about, that summer, the Red Summer, the summer of 1919, after World War I ended, where white folk were, like you saw with Jack Johnson, they're roaming through the streets and they're trying to lynch black folk. Okay, the new immigrants, their most expedited path to becoming a white American, to becoming white, is by participating in the killing and lynching of black folk. That's how you earn your medal. We are in many ways, harming us was kind of the flag that they rallied around. So we haven't forgotten that, and it's definitely reflected in the mantra that they're going to fight under, which is double V campaign. They're going for victory abroad and victory at home. And so we have the roots of the civil rights movement starting during the start of World War I, when you have Asa Philip Randolph taking FDR to task for allowing discrimination in the wartime industries. But when they come back in 45, you got to think 45, 46, that's the first major civil rights case, desegregation case that we get, when Charles Hamilton Houston actually represents a gentleman here from Houston, Texas, Heman Sweat. Heman Sweat wanted to go to law school, but there are no law schools in Texas who would accept him because he was a Negro. And it's, if you ever talk to professional Black folk who they're probably about 70 now, 70 and above, and you ask them where they got their terminal degree, their last degree at, it's never in the South. It's always Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, NYU. It's somewhere outside the South, because the South developed a system for keeping smart Negroes out of their state. And it was that if you wanted to go to graduate school, we'll pay under one condition, and it is that you cannot attend in this state. So they flood non-Southern. They got to go above the Mason-Dixon line. But in 1945, 1946, the Heman Sweat case, it creates a strategy that is, as Mike would put it, impenetrable. And the strategy is a very simple one. They take a state like Texas to court, and they basically say, show us your Negro law school. And Texas doesn't have one. And so the court is left with no other decision than to tell state of Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, wherever you want to go in the Deep South, that you are in violation of the 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson case, which is separate but equal. So now what's the remedy to that? The remedy is you either integrate your schools, okay, and we'll focus on Texas. You shall integrate your law school so that Heman Sweat can go to school, okay, and become an attorney, or you create a law school for one Negro. And the state of Texas created a law school for one Negro. That law school is Texas Southern University. It's at Texas Southern University's campus. It's the Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Yeah. And you got to remember, Charles Hamilton Houston was the mentor for Thurgood Marshall. Houston would have been America's first Black Supreme Court justice had he not died. He had worked himself to death trying to win in America's courts.
Wow.
That's who they are. But yeah, they needed us. And if you go and you watch, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, A Soldier Story. Denzel Washington, David Allen Greer, all these would go on in the future to do these amazing things. Look at that, and it's about Black soldiers who are gearing up to go and fight in World War II.
Wow. Very, very interesting, I tell you. Interesting. All right. Well, we are at our time, but we didn't get finished. We got another half to do, the modern gladiators. So if you free tomorrow, we can pick up and go tomorrow if you're free.
Same time?
Yeah.
You know what? I'll definitely be free because I have to come back from work early to go to the doctor. I'm being forced to go to the doctor. I'm going under protest, but I'll make my way there, I think. So
definitely.
Certainly. I'll set an alarm for myself.
Okay.
To be here, ready to rock and roll.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move to closing comments. Doc?
You know, yeah, I mean, my only closing comment is thanks for everyone for coming. Like and share what it is that we're doing. And I guess, you know, as always, just happy to be here, to be counted within this number and what have you. And looking forward to tomorrow. God bless you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. So yes, y'all. We thank y'all for coming out, hanging with us. We want to thank Twin Pyramid. Peace and blessings, bro. We're glad that you were here and you were the first one in the house. We want to thank Brother Willie Rivers. Peace and blessings, Big Brother Willie. We're glad you're here as well. And those that are watching that didn't comment, we thank you for coming in. Tomorrow we'll be dealing with Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather, and Mike Tyson. And tomorrow's topic, the modern gladiators, the war mentality. So definitely, if you learn some things tonight, you definitely gonna learn some things tomorrow night as we get in here and look at it and see. And you know, I watched one of these videos on Sugar Ray, and we'll watch it tomorrow. But I was amazed, Doc, because I was looking at this dude, and he was fast.
Oh yeah,
he was fast. I'm like, damn, is he really that fast? He was fast,
lightning fast, lightning fast. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So definitely tomorrow will be a great program. Make sure you come in and join us. Make sure you share, watch, subscribe. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me. And our God will reign supreme. We are Black First. Today, tomorrow, and forever. We love y'all, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Peace.
Peace. You better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.